Welcome to SMarketPlace. I'm Keith Reynolds, and I've got Tom Dempsey with me. Uh, Tom, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here as always with you. And Joseph, good to be with you. I'm a fractional VP of sales for Market Share Growth Experts.
And we'll get to Joseph in just a second. So this is SMarketPlace. We talk sales, marketing, and rock and roll. Tom's a sales guy. I'm a marketing guy. And our premise is that sales and marketing have to work together today like a band. So we bring on people with expertise in sales and marketing, and we also want to know about their favorite rock and roll and hear their stories about that. So let's bring on Joseph. And Joseph, welcome.
Hey everybody, how are y'all doing? So glad to be here.
Good. Well, we're restreaming out to LinkedIn Live and YouTube Live, and also to Facebook. So we're live. We're from Denver, Colorado, and today you're in North Carolina, right, Joseph?
I'm in Asheville, North Carolina today.
Asheville, North Carolina. Well, you and I work together in New York City with an SEO agency that you have, Galileo Tech Media. And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Me, I have an interesting background in technology and art and content, a lot of creativity. So I consider myself a creative force and focused on helping businesses or grow their awareness of their brand organically. That's SEO, but it's also a host of other services that help you become a well-known brand, because if you're well-known, it makes, as Tom knows, a brand makes sales easier.
Absolutely. And you've used SEO as a platform to do all kinds of creative things. I've always been amazed at your tech expertise on the SEO and internet side and the software side, but then your creativity. Tell us a little bit about how you've brought that together for travel experiences and the marketing support that you give your clients.
Well, as you know, we were one of the largest digital service providers to Marriott, so we got a lot of experience with doing SEO for travel. And and in doing that, we researched keywords for thousands of hotels for 7 years, for lots of pages, and we got to understand what worked, what didn't work from a keyword perspective, and also what might be create engagement. What people would actually click through, because even if you have keywords in the term, that's not enough to actually get people to click through. They might be searching for that, but they want to have another reason to click. And usually that's going to be some sort of emotional thing. They might even not be aware of it, but it'll be something that triggers their emotions. Now, one of the things I looked into is what is emotional factors that affect people that people value when they travel. And there's actually some research called memorable tourism experiences that has analyzed over the last decade or so what emotions will trigger a memory, what they call flashbulb memory, that you'll remember vividly for a long time, if not your whole life. And it's basically the emotions that happen during experience, and they generally will segment emotions into certain categories so that you can analyze it, but also you can use that as a method we used it as a method to categorize keywords and other words to go with those keywords to try to trigger emotions. And these kind of emotions can be, well, the standard one in almost all travel does, and a lot of them, it's a one-trick pony, is they try to trigger hedonism, comfort, luxury, smell, all the things that you might think about and when you're wanting to go to hotels. But that is a pure commodification play, because you only get a memorable experience, if you trigger 2 or 3 emotions. So other emotions are like refreshment, knowledge, local meeting local people, or being involved with local culture, or having a meaningful experience. You have these additional experiences with that hedonistic aspect, and you're going to remember that trip and that place forever. And they found that even more than satisfaction, that a memorable experience dramatically increases brand loyalty and revisit intention. And when I bought my little motel, which I run on the side, though it's consumed me for the last year, is that that when you start doing both the marketing and the actual implementation of memorable experiences, you'll start having people just coming back just to come to your place 6-7 times. All right, so you get a lot of revisits. That's how we quadruple revenue just on this one thing that we did.
Revisits. How does this apply to a broader market beyond travel? Because I know, and I want to get into, you've been working on linguistics and AI to really bring online and offline together. Tell us how this expands to broader set of products.
Well, we also did a little research, say, in the B2B space, and there are emotions that will trigger people to click. One of the biggest things is trust. You got to trust that a B2B is you got to be in a close relationship with a B2B supplier. You have to have a trust, and also relationship values, and values like reliability. They need to know that more than just trust you, they need to know that you're reliable, right? So there's various emotional factors that you have to overcome in every space. In the wine area, it's going to be there's for example, wine hospitality is slightly different ones. Like there's a feeling of esoteric and that you have esoteric knowledge, you have sophisticated knowledge, a level of sophistication, a feeling of being elite. That's an emotional feeling. So you have to look at every business sector that you're in and try to find the emotional factors. Now, luckily, there has been a lot of research in a lot of different industries about what emotions will trigger their feeling of being involved with the brand and will trigger them to click. And more importantly, what will make them remember, because remembering is where you get the cheapest marketing dollars, because when they remember, it costs you nothing. They come to you, there's no marketing involved. It's already been invested. It's already been done on that first experience. After that, you never have to market to them again, right? And so the dollars for getting them to come back is zero.
Now,
Tom,
that I think from a sales standpoint too, is the promise has to match the experience also.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, then it'll work against you.
Yeah. They the research has found that anticipation is great, because it'll actually make the memory more intensely memorable. So if you anticipate something and it's met, that's going to be intensely memorable. But there is an eighth emotional category, which I tend to avoid, but which is also memorable, and that's the negative one. All right. And you can have a negative memorable tourism experience, which has the opposite effect of all the others, which makes them avoid you like the plague.
Right. And they tend to be more vocal too.
Oh yeah, they're the ones that go onto YouTube and onto the review sites and complain about you. And in a lot of in the travel industry, unfortunately, it tends to be in the hedonistic arena, right? Oh, the room wasn't comfortable, the bed was bad, all sorts of things. That's where they tend to do that. But in others, it could be in the B2B space saying, well, these guys weren't reliable, right? So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your journey that got you to have these insights on the emotional connections between experiences and buying.
Well, you and I were both in inbound marketing, right? So we really got ingrained in us about the phases people go through buying, which was, they have an interest, they have awareness, then they do research, and they do, they make a decision, and they have satisfaction, and those all touch on the elements of emotion, right? So, and in a lot of marketing, they talk about, branding is a lot of branding is about emotions. What are the emotions being triggered? What made me start thinking about it is saying, well, what are we doing when we're looking for keywords? All right, we're looking for keywords people are searching for. Why are those searching for those particular keywords? Right? They're searching for a reason. It's not just that they randomly picked, the keyword phrase for something. It's like, beds that are comfortable, motels with comfortable beds. What is the real reason they're searching for motels with comfortable beds? It's a hedonistic impulse, right? It's they want to sleep lovely and nice. So it made me think about, well, it's more than just having in the phrase, motel with a comfortable bed. You might say, this is the motel with the most comfortable bed in the universe, right? Or you might, you might at the same time trigger another emotion. Like people love novelty in travel. So you said, this is the most comfortable bed in motel because we use the fine down from chicks that were found in the yard of the whatever, right? So they go, wow, that's new too. It's comfortable and new. That's even more memorable than it just being comfortable, right? So you start playing with that, and and if you can get three into the same headline, it's like the trifecta. It's like the perfect score. You'll get as long as it doesn't seem weird and unusual, that you'll get a lot of clicks on that.
So the most comfortable bed in Tanzania with fine down from only from chicks from the East Madagascar.
Exactly, that sort of thing, right? Something where you trigger, two or three emotions, right? If you just stop at, okay, we'll satisfy that keyword, that's not enough, right? That's not really digging into what are the emotions that drive that, and then what other emotions go along with that. And it also, you're also able to start, on a neurological level, that's called, that's creating keywords that you find the keywords that resonate with people, right? More than just, if they just say beds, they could be looking for a bed to sleep in, or they could be looking for a bed to buy. They could be looking for a bed for a neighbor, so, beds that are comfortable, there's an implication that they're looking for a comfortable bed for themselves. And there's emotion there, but then you get into what are the other emotions might be involved with going after beds, and then you can start actually thinking about modifying behavior and modifying search, because maybe they're searching for the wrong thing, right? Maybe maybe there's a lot of people search for comfortable beds, but they should be searching for for rooms that have been renovated in the last year, because a bed that's been slept on 365 times, for 5 years, is, no matter how good it is probably not going to be comfortable. So they could claim it's comfortable and say it was done by blah, 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 but, it might be better to search for, the beds that have been, rooms have been renovated in the last year, and that'll give you a better comfortable bed. Things like that. It starts expanding what you think about when you're doing marketing with search engine optimization. And that's how it led into doing all this brand awareness stuff.
So you've now translated through you have a unique brain, and I know this because we've worked together for many years on different projects, and you have a creative and a technical brain, and you really take very highly technical things and put it through your creative process. Not only do you find things like the emotions behind keywords, but you bring it down to a level where an executive at a company like Marriott can buy into it and do a large scale program. So you have a really unique set of expertise. I think you even told me recently that you studied AI in college. And
believe it or not,
I know that wasn't yesterday.
Not to date myself, but back in the, let's say, the last century, and not in the last decade of that last century, I studied computer science at Duke University, and my focus was on AI. Now, we were doing basically machine learning type, you know, alpha alpha beta searches in game theory, right? And making things like Pente games, and basically you'd go down a number of levels that your computer could handle to create a board with a certain set of circumstances that you could give it a score about how likely you were to win from that one. And then along all these ones on the 10th level, you would pick the one with the highest score. And then so the secret is how do you make an algorithm to figure out how close you are to a solution at level 10? Right. So that was AI back in the day. All right. But
Right.
I understand the intent and purpose of AI. There was the beginning of neural nets. There was the beginning of language models, all that sort of stuff. So I have a reasonable idea. So when AI came out in the last 3 years, I took to it like a duck out of water. You know, a duck out of water. It's like my tool I've been waiting my whole life to have.
Well, so now where I was going with that is translate that to some of the work around the linguistics and AI and how you're seeing this go to the next level. Then tell our audience about what they can learn from your work over the last 3 years, because everyone's trying to learn about this stuff right now.
Well, essentially all those tricks that you do in marketing, like, the hooks, the emotions, they're all part of some science usually, like there's psychology, there's neurology that studies about how certain things affect people, whether it resonates with them emotionally or affects their mind or their decision making, things like that. It's all been involved in those kind of sciences. So if you look at, say, SEO, and you look at what are the emotions about there, the words are triggering an emotion in you. They have a resonance, and that's a sort of almost a neurological response. A word creates a neurological response, and if you change a different word to a different word or different number of words, and dealing with language at that level, you're creating a neurological responses that range from resonance to triggering to whatever things that they do. So so in analyzing them, using emotions and which words create emotions, it's really sort of doing what are the ones that are a simple word or a couple of simple phrase can create resonance, right? That's a neurological response. It's not like you're thinking about it. It's like it just creates that response. And, so that's why, and it's dealing with words. So I named this practice Neurolexical, neuroscience and the lexical, dealing with words. Now, the next stage of after you get people to your site is they're consuming content. And consuming content is really a narrative, a story to convince people or to bring people along on a journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So stories are psychological. They're about understanding what narratives and what stories will lead people to certain conclusions, right? For example, Dr. Dave Popple, who I work with, is expounded upon the 5 obstacles to decision making, what you have to overcome to get people to make a decision, which involves trust, anxiety, procrastination, ease of, and then sense of urgency, right? So how do you do that in a landing page content is a psychological, effort, understanding the emotions, and then making the words make that story happen is a linguistic approach, right? So cognitive linguistics is born, and that's for the content side of things, to really understand what will cause people to emotionally respond to a story and follow the journey.
So we lost Tom. I think we have a technical difficulty. So
Oh,
it's you and I.
all right.
But what I just heard you say is something that the work that drives SEO and identifying the emotional content within an SEO strategy converts over and to the inbound marketing side, where we're drawing our audience in with things like landing pages and website content. And I was about to go to Tom because those same stories then have relevance to a sales professional like him, and how does he train a team of salespeople to use those same things? Am I tracking?
Well, yeah. Well, the beauty of AI now is that they don't have to become scientists to do this sort of stuff. All right. So what I found that I have, working with AI, is that it fuses concepts together on a scale that has never been imagined before. Right. To give you a regular real world example is, I wanted to put a little restaurant in my little motel that I got, and I wanted to have decent food. There's no great chefs in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. There's great cooks, but not great chefs going to be creating new cuisine. And, me being an egotist and, and coming from New York, I wanted to have a little bit of a flair to it. So I started playing around with AI, and I found that it could fuse together Smoky Mountain heritage food with Trinidadian spices and dishes and create a new type of cuisine. All right. So I implemented that. And in the first 2 months, also with a little by my brand promotion, of course, we got 2,500 people into the place, and we got critically noticed in the regional city magazines. All right. And I'm not anywhere near being a chef. All right. And never actually created recipes in my life before, and did this with AI. All right. Admittedly, small town level, but still, something I think it demonstrates to you the power that AI brings. So for the sales, trying to do, bring in emotional factors, overcoming obstacles, type of psychological things. You don't have to learn how to be the psychologist. All right. Basically, you have to have a defined prompts that say, write this content, and then you have your special sauce, you have your psychological things you're trying to do as separate files that it can reference. You can maybe create a GPT. There's things you could do to actually systemize it. But basically, your salespeople will say, write this sales response, taking into fact these considerations, or have it automatically do it based upon your definitions, and it'll produce content that is resonant and takes people on a story that will be more conducive to overcoming obstacles or evoking emotions or whatever. There's a lot of different psychological theories we can start embedding into it. And that's the beauty of AI is, if you wanted to embed 10, 20 different psychological concepts into one story and you had to write it yourself, forget it. You're going to write one a year. All right. You would have to do so much research, but AI can do it in minutes. All right. So I call that, by the way, I have 3 terms I've invented right away. How I love to invent terms. I call that because you're using AI to fuse together different concepts to create content. I call it fusion crafting. It's a type of content production that's not exactly writing; it's crafting with the aid of AI.
So you're putting ideas together that have basis in SEO. You're creating new ideas and able to fuse things that might not be able, have not been put together before, and then building on the emotions so that you can train salespeople to do the lower bottom part of the funnel, all from at the top of the funnel, creating awareness now down to what the salespeople are talking about. Do I have that right?
That's right. And my proof of this is that I took a small, the average motel in the United States makes $94,000 a year. And that's a 20-room motel. I have a 34-room motel, but then we were doing about 200,000. So it was basically an average motel, just a straight up average motel, run as an average motel for 70 years, and always doing around that. All right. I come in within 3 years, I quadrupled the revenue to 800,000. All right. Only doing this experience and stuff. Right. I'd already done the some renovations and stuff like that. And all that did was just made people happier. And, but it hadn't really affected revenue other than maybe a 1% tick up or something like that. But this memorable experience has seen quadrupled revenue within 3 years.
All right. So one of the beautiful things about AI and the internet is you can you can experiment at a small scale and apply at a large scale. And I know that that's the kind of thinking that you do, because
Well,
you're
yeah.
beating two different camps.
Well, I mean, you look at what I did with Marriott. We were doing pilot projects, little content. We had a freelancer. They needed some freelancers. We put one or two in there, and they were doing content just for SEO for, various things. And by the time we left, we were doing 4,000 pieces of content a year, making a month, making six figures a month, scaling it. All was essentially, with Zoom and internet and tracking, very good tracking with a little precursor AI in there in terms of managing it and automation, and boom. So the thing you can do with anything, I think, especially with AI, if anything with AI is you can scale anything. I'm pretty sure. All right, maybe something that's totally labor intensive, you can't. But if it's mostly about intellectual intensity, I think you can scale that. I think you can scale anything. It's just it requires a lot of thinking to get it accomplished. If you can systemize your thinking, you can systemize it with AI, and you can scale that.
And I think that ties to, I think it was last week, Sam Altman from OpenAI said we're in the era of the single person firm, $1 billion firm.
Yeah, I mean, I was a single person firm. I say we all the time because I come from old school, but it was me as the only employee. Everything else was outsourced, everything, and I never had a single employee, and it was a multi-million-dollar company. Yeah, COVID brought us down, but now we're coming back up again.
So stop me if you already covered this, and sorry I got cut off here for a minute. But when you talk about keywords and SEO, and then of course you started talking about AI, do you integrate them and then have found a way to monetize them together for clients?
Yeah, well, basically, we dramatically increased engagement rates. The results of everything that we did became much better. So it's about an evolution of SEO. So it's like you use AI to make it perform better, to make it perform faster, to get it done quicker, to do things on a larger scale. And then you have to in the travel situation, you need to tie it into, like you mentioned before, the promise has to meet the actual. So if you're going to do things all based upon promising to deliver certain emotions, you got to make the supply side also evoke those emotions. So they say they don't say, "Oh, you promised me refreshment, hedonism, and novelty," but they feel it. And then when they go and have it, the feelings are met. They are absolutely satisfied. Absolutely satisfied. Love the brand. Come back again and again. They don't even know why. They don't even know that you met those emotions that you promised.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the end of the show. I think you really kind of summed it all up right there, answering Tom's question. But what we really want to know is, who's your favorite band?
Right now, I am enjoying a band. Actually, it's a one-person name, but he's got different performers. It's Ren. I don't know if he's got an album out yet, but he's on TikTok all the time, and he is the best right now. He is by far the best. He is crazy good in a lot of different genres. So I am really enjoying him on TikTok, and a lot of people are, even well-seasoned rock and rollers are going on and being amazed by the things he's doing with words and musics and things like that.
Well, that's really interesting. The linguistics that create emotions is parallel or very similar to music, and how that creates experiences for our lives by bringing up emotions, and that's really tied into what you do.
Yeah, it's the words and the sounds. There's a lot of things that can trigger emotions, and in our game, we're mostly dealing with words. But if in the scheme of things, it can be the sight. It can be what you're looking at the window at the same time you're hearing something. I mean, that's an even more level of complexity to think about, is in a business that requires that. And to some extent on the experience side, where the actual experience is happening, you do have to consider that. What is the sight? What is the sound? What is the words? What is the results? So yeah, that complexity, I think AI can handle that too.
My son did turn me on to Red. He's got some amazing videos that just kind of leave your. I've seen him on YouTube, not TikTok, but um, just the videos tell a story and kind of shock you.
Oh yeah, the one he got that started out big was like him being crazy. I mean, he might be actually be, he might have actually had some psychological problems, and the internal struggle that he had. And therapists and people came on saying, "Well, my God, this is the most accurate description of what goes on that ever existed," and it's just crazy good, but it's also crazy scary, crazy emotional. Yeah.
And I know another connection you have to rock and roll is through Simone, your wife.
Oh yeah, Simone's cooler than me. She
I wasn't going to say it.
is a Brazilian percussionist. She was a member of an all-women, it was a Brazilian percussionist band that danced instead of marched. They would march, but they would dance at the same time. Every performance, they would dance with these big drums at the same time they're playing this wonderful music. And she got to be perform on Saturday Night Live. She got to open for the Rolling Stones. She's performed with David Byrne, one of the guys from Fish. She's been in movies. She's done a lot of things, and she's not a professional musician. She says I'm just like it and I do it, but she's considered one of the best. And whenever they do something Caribbean music, drumming related in New York City, they'll have a poster, and by God, almost every time it's her face dancing and drum at the same time that appears there. And recently, some group in East Village, East Village put a mural on the side of their building, and by God, it's Simone right there in the middle of it, the biggest figure. So she's like infamous without it ever being. She had never made a dime from the music. It's just an application. Yeah.
My takeaway from this conversation as we wrap up is that marketing and sales is a very dynamic. We're always planning and trying to be proactive, but we're also being reactive. And the best efforts always are trying to integrate and bring new ideas together. And I mean, what I hear in your experience here is not only do you have a very strong expertise in AI and SEO that drive emotional experiences just like a band does. But rock and roll, as its whole being, is from bringing together the roots of music and fusing Afro, Latino, European, and finding new ways to make emotional connections.
Well, at the end of the day, I think most creativity, and intensive creativity is the fusing of disparate concepts. You invent really by combining things that have never, that you haven't combined before, or combining them in a different way. So rock and roll was combining disparate, like you mentioned, all those disparate interests to create something new, and connecting it into the marketing age of youth culture marketing. It just exploded. And we might not see something like that again for a while.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Tom.
Yeah,
But you take these concepts and build sales teams around them. And
absolutely.
tell us a little bit, just like, what's your impression here, and we'll head out here of the interview with just how do we bring it down to making sales teams successful?
Well, I think about a couple of things, but the one thing that I take away from this too is that there is an evolution of technology. There's always going to be. And as we talked about, there's an evolution of SEO and the emotions that go along with it. There's an evolution of AI, and that's at light speed right now, and how you integrate the two to achieve maximum productivity. But then there's an evolution of how to monetize that and how to sell it and how to best meet customers' needs. And by doing that, then you've got a sales paradigm that exists. And that's sort of the key is is how do you ultimately create something that has enough value that you can create a sales model around it, because you've got the marketing piece inherent in it, and how do you meld that together from a sales standpoint to meet customers' needs?
Hmm. Oh, I agree with you 100%. In terms of monetization of what this AI and SEO is, from my perspective is that SEO, it's hard to differentiate yourself in the SEO market, because now everybody in the world is putting out things. I'll do SEO for $500 a month or $200 a month. All right, they've cheapened it to such an extent that people don't even know who to choose and what to do with. Right. What has happened now is that with AI, the same work that you do to do SEO, you can take to another level. And what I'm calling it is an evolved SEO, neurolexical work, but it's really about brand awareness. You can really create brand awareness. You're not creating a brand. That's done by a branding agency that does their own emotional work. But once you bring it to the market, once you bring it actually out to the sale, to sell this brand, how do you make people aware of it in an actionable and meaningful way, right? That's what we can do. We can do that, and we can do that to scale, because we can put this type of research into, if you're doing a sales promotion, right? If you're doing a sales promotion, the same kind of language and things can be used to get people there and to meet the promise and provide it. Because a sales promotion, I did a article on my LinkedIn page about how a sales promotion is a micro tourism experience, right? And so you can use the same techniques to make that micro tourism experience into a memorable tourism experience that they'll remember for a long time. And if they remember that promotion for a long time, that is brand loyalty and revisit intention, purchase intent. All right. So you can actually apply this stuff into practical sales techniques.
Yes. Great
Well,
point.
this has been a wonderful conversation, and I think I said while we were waiting, we had some technical difficulties. We overcame them, and we ran a little late, but some of the best rock and roll shows I've ever seen started late. So, Joseph,
Right.
you've been absolutely amazing. We appreciate
Sure.
you sharing with us, and we look forward to finding ways to work together with you.
Oh, good. Well, I really appreciate it. And, if people want to find out more about me or my company, go to galileotechmedia.com, or I have my LinkedIn profile is linkedin.com/in/Joseph McElroy, where I have a newsletter called Wise Odyssey. And Odyssey also refers to, I'm developing a whole retreat concept based upon memorable experiences called Odyssey of Renewal. So watch for that brand coming out soon.
All right. Well, thanks, Joseph. We really appreciate it.
Sure thing. I appreciate it as well. You've had some good insights here, and love the rock and roll. When I started Galileo, we just picked a concept that doesn't necessarily always seem business like. We just said we were selling freedom, right? So having a purpose, and I think especially in today's world, especially with the younger folks, purpose is important. So having a purpose to what you're doing besides just making dollars is important.
Well, your thinking has, over the years, really informed how I go to market, talking about content hubs, branded content hubs, and how now the podcast ecosystem, like what we spawned here today, the thought leadership here can become a blog post, can become social media, right? AI is never going to do the kind of thinking that we're doing here on this show, and that podcast ecosystem becomes a chapter or an episode on your channel. And so we appreciate you sharing your learning with us, and we'll see everybody next week on Thursday, 1:00 Eastern, and for SMarketPlace. And we have Rich Bornstein out of Los Angeles, who's worked on Emmy Award winning shows and is starting to do the thinking of connecting media to B2B marketing, in addition to his traditional entertainment role. So I'm excited to share that. Joseph, thank you so much. Tom, thanks for help pulling this all together. Us
Cheers.
being able to cheers to you. We're in the rock and roll and bourbon room that you
There you go.
make available to us. And so thanks everybody, and make it a great day.
All right.
Fun.